We're all clear, but there'll be more. Echo 7, how's the transmission?
I just bypassed security. Transferring to R10 now.
Echo 2, we've got company. Let's make this quick.
Copy, Echo 9. R10, get ready for transmission. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. Today we are going to be discussing Skeleton Crew, episode 5. So, things are progressing, and things aren't going kind of what I was thinking it was going to go. I think, first of all, that I want to discuss is that droid. Like, he went crazy, they turned him off, and then all of a sudden he's back to normal and all excited telling stories about his adventures. So I feel that was just kind of like a sudden change. Like, I was not expecting him to turn away from kill mode so quickly.
I agree. I mean, again, so what I heard about this show is that this show was planned to be a movie, and it was filmed as a movie, but then edited into being a TV show.
Makes sense, because it definitely does feel like a movie. Like, if they had this all together, I think the show would be a lot better.
That explains a lot, because I think they literally edited the let's get the droid back in order part out. It happened like this. There is no reason. Then why was it such a big deal? Why was there an entire episode on this droid's malfunction?
Yeah, it was very anticlimactic.
Exactly.
Yeah, we was wrong. We was wrong about it, and I mean, what was the point in this episode? I'm sounding like Fluffy now, but honestly, what was
the point? Was for them to find Captain Renan's lair so they can get the star chart.
The point was to get to Chekhov's lightsaber.
Chekhov's lightsaber.
So, I didn't hate this episode as much as I hated the previous one.
Okay.
But that does not change the fact that I still hated it.
So you just hate Neil then?
I will not be commenting on that. I thought it was going to be good. I really thought it was going to be good. The way it started with the Atten and the adults and going back to them, I was like, okay, we're at least picking up one part of the thread from there. Nope. It was just
pointless.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
it wasn't as boring. The second half was not okay. So it was not as boring as the previous episodes, and the second half was less boring than the first half.
Fluffy's changing her mind. She's starting to like the show.
I found it boring all throughout.
You found it? What? I couldn't hear you.
I found it boring throughout
the whole
episode.
It is. It is boring. It's just less boring.
No, see, I liked the last episode, whereas this one it felt like filler that was just there for the sake of it, and you know, the start of it, like you say, with the parents or the adults, that went nowhere very fast, and by very fast I mean it dragged. And then you had like every pirate movie trope ever made in this one episode.
Yeah.
And it was like, what am I watching? Am I watching Star Wars things, or am I just watching a generic sci-fi show?
I mean, I think what this show is missing is our favorite pirate. They should have done something with Hondo, to be honest. Hondo should have been attached to this, in some way.
Yeah.
Maybe he will be, but I also don't care about that. Like, don't mess with him. He's a good character. Don't try to include him in something that is poorly written, poorly made.
Whoa. I thought we were talking about Skeleton Crew, not the other show.
I mean, to be fair though,
Get
Fluffy...
my husband's name out of your mouth.
Fluffy's got a point though, in the way that you don't want to have a historical named character that people actually like in it just to try and boost viewership.
Exactly like what they did in that show that we do not mention in the last episode, showing us that character. Yeah. We know that it doesn't work. We know it just messes with the balance, the force, everything. So I'll go to my notes.
I do have to say, I did like the parents arc though, because it kind of shows that they're kind of breaking away from their normal routine as well. Like, before they were just happy just doing what they're told and this is life, let's have fun. Now it's like our kids are at stake. These droids aren't doing anything. And the last episode kind of introduced us to the supervisor tower. And now we're getting mention of a supervisor on this planet. And so I feel like these parents are becoming pirates themselves. Yar.
The only good thing I found about the parents' arc, I don't think we can call it an arc. I think we can just call it something.
Tidbit.
Arc. The only good thing I found from that is I felt like the adults, at least at the place that they're in, know the truth about the planet, because Wim's dad said that they're not going to say anything about Atton's location, so they know that Atton's location is a secret. That was the only tiny thing, glimpse that I got that made sense to me in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But that's it. Other than that, completely useless, basically. Like, it really gave me hope in the beginning. I was like, oh, cool, we're back. At least we're picking up a thread. No, it was just like, we're gonna save our kids. How are we gonna save our kids? We still don't know.
We're gonna be very suspicious, but obvious at the same time, trying to hand a data thing. It's like, oh yeah, nobody's watching us. We don't look suspicious at all. When the way the droids talk to the parents too, or the adults is very interesting. It's like the droid, it's like, no, basically very condescending.
Yeah. Show me your both hands at the same time, sir.
It's been done so many times before, though. That's why it was boring. Every part of this episode was boring.
The difference on this one, though, is usually the person that's trying to hide something figures a way to hide it, and both hands are out, nothing's there. This one was actually like, oh, he's not skilled enough to do this, so he got caught. Which shows the inadequacy. And so this is kind of where I'm seeing it going, at least on the parents' arc, because I don't see the parents leaving the planet. Right? But we do get the sense that the parents know the place is a secret. I'm wondering if they're going to try and get to the supervisor tower, and in order to get the kid, if they can't leave, they can get the kids back by sending a broadcast. And I think they're ultimately going to give away the location, which might be helpful for the finale, because I feel like all the pirates are going to be headed to this planet now. They're going to be chasing Jod because the pirates are there, and he's either going to get captured or he's going to escape in the ship. And so when they show up, the parents are probably going to shoot broadcast. Then we get the Republic and the X-Wings come and save the day. I feel that's where the parents story is headed.
I feel like the parent story is headed to nowhere, only to the supervisor and their identity, which is going to be 99% this captain. Sorry, I need
Rented.
to go to my notes. Tech Rented. The captain of Onyx Cinder. I think it's gonna be him. I think that's him.
Yeah, because I think I theorized that last week too.
Yeah,
Either it's him or a descendant.
Yeah, that's what we said, and it's still going in that direction. And the fact that they showed that captain's log and the visual was broken, and we didn't like it is either someone we have already seen.
Palpatine.
Oh my god.
Somehow he returned to Atten.
The way I would cancel my Disney Plus subscription is not even. I would be like, nope, bye.
No more.
He was behind it all along.
Oh god. Yeah, no. 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 So that's what I thought. I mean, that's like the theory that we have had from the past episode as well. It is still that this person, this captain, is still either somewhere on the planet. But I assume he could be, because Jod is now in quotation marks, because ew, also. How many names can you come up with? Why? What is the point of all of this?
Pirate.
So if he backstabs somebody, they can't find him. Like the one bounty hunter, she's like, I've never heard of anyone named Death Stanton. Nobody has. He's like, yep, that's why you couldn't find me.
No. This is the exact same let's say, how do I put this without bashing? We are still talking about the same universe where Obi-Wan hid himself for 30 years under the name Ben Kenobi. And then we have this pirate who has figured it all out. If I use 10,000 aliases, I'm gonna be okay.
Obi-Wan also has the Force.
Job 2.
Okay, you're not wrong. Obi-Wan's more experienced. Well, actually, until we see the Kenobi show, we realize he kind of cut himself off from the Force. And I actually do think him calling himself Ben Kenobi the entire time is kind of lame, to be honest.
I mean,
because that is such an obvious thing. Plus, still wearing Jedi robes. Like, come on, man.
Plus, he's looking after a kid named Skywalker. You would have thought they would have changed the whole family name. Just saying, I mean, bigger plot hole here. Forget the Ben Kenobi thing. The fact that Skywalker.
But let's also be real. Anakin hated sand, and he hated Tatooine. So the chances of him going back, I think they were pretty safe.
Okay, Skeleton Crew is the one we should focus on criticizing, not the New Hope.
Yeah, don't ruin the originals. The originals are amazing. There's no plot holes, okay?
Oh wow. Okay. No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Star Wars is. I mean, but in all honesty, like, let's go with Ezra. Ezra goes by Jabba. He's got more aliases.
Yeah. What if he? What if
It's a pirate thing to do.
Yeah.
If I hadn't seen Ezra, I would have said this is Ezra. Honestly, at this point, I would have been like, "Yep, this is Ezra."
I mean,
so many names.
British accent, Palpatine.
Say that one more time.
British accent, he's Palpatine.
True, that's what Jod sounds like.
Yeah, Jod is a clone of Palpatine. Somehow he has returned.
Wait, if we take all of the aliases and we rearrange their names, like letters, it comes out as I am Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
It's another Tom Riddle. Voldemort.
It's very funny. Very different languages, by the way.
I'm going to say he is not Palpatine for the obvious fact that he obviously has Jedi training. Like I'm strongly considering that he was in the Jedi Order and survived Order 66 because either he knew Qui-Gon or Qui-Gon's quote is very familiar in the Jedi Order.
The attachment.
Let alone. And that was the other one I was going to say too, because he has a Jedi training about get rid of your fears and anxieties. They're just attachments. They're unnecessary or whatever. And then he used Qui-Gon's quote that he said to Anakin was, "Your focus determines your reality." So we got two signs that he might have been at the Jedi with the Jedi.
I know who he is. He is the secret love child of Satine and Obi-Wan.
Please no.
No.
I'm strongly just going to say he's a survivor of Order 66 that became a pirate.
No,
But didn't go dark side, which is good for him.
I see his character as more of a person. I mean, he's a smart character. He knows how to sort of manipulate people.
Well, all right, you did exactly what I wanted. All right, now I'm going to challenge you for the captain's role. I never cared about you guys to begin with.
I think that whatever sort of Jedi, in air quote, training he's had was just from books. Like,
so he could have just been looking at holocrons.
Yeah.
Like Wim?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that does not explain his, like, let's be honest, his use of force is actually quite good.
Yeah.
Pirate, though, he's probably practiced himself.
I mean, if you are put in a jail cell for a while, I guess if you could figure out.
Yeah, but Sabine couldn't figure it out on her own.
That's something else. Sabine and her Mandalorian personality and
Clash, yeah.
That's the whole
created a wall.
But I really think he has had some, like, if he is not a Order 66 survivor, which I think he's not, because it has been a very long time since Order 66 within that universe, and
say 29 years.
Yeah. I don't think a person who has had, like, no.
Well, he's in his 40s, so the time frame matches.
Yeah, true, for sure. But I don't think his capability with the Force shows that much direct baby Jedi training, let's say.
That's fair.
I think he has had another Force user show him the ropes.
Another Padawan of Kanan. Kidding.
I don't know.
R.I.P. Kanan.
One of the best characters. I just think he learned. He's sort of self-taught. Because it shows. You know, he knows how to move a key, but he's not tried to move anything heavy with the Force. Like, he's had so many
Oh,
opportunities.
you moved that tablet.
Wow. But like he's had so many opportunities to do some serious like damage with the Force, and he doesn't. It's either he's hiding it well, or he doesn't know how to. It's like a parlor trick.
Okay, I can see that, because there's a lot of instances that I would have imagined him using the Force. Like when the pirates showed up to the planet and he's in there, they're running away from him. I for sure thought he was going to like use a Force push, and because I mean, Maul does not need a lightsaber to kill people, as we saw in the Siege of Mandalore. He just went around tearing the wall apart and chopping heads with pieces of metal. Like Judd just kind of like, oh no, let's just run. All right, well, let's fill the room with acid and just kill them all. Which dark, by the way, very dark, but
Yeah.
very cool.
I mean, he's very confident in his abilities with the Force, though. I think
Because I mean,
using quite a few mind tricks.
yeah, because he is very precise with it. Because when he picks up the lightsaber at the end, it flies right to his hand, and it seemed like the lightsaber was very familiar to him. So I mean, next episode we might see him use that lightsaber. Very possible. Or it might be something we're going to see in the end. I know this is like the one thing that Fluffy did not want, is to see a Jedi. And I was thinking, okay, he uses the Force, cool. Every now and then, I'm like, okay, it's not very prominent in the show. At least there's no lightsaber. But now there's a lightsaber. So I'm wondering how much more skill we're going to have with him. And I think probably one of the main reasons why he doesn't use the Force, because, I mean, this guy is very charismatic. He's a talker. Like, I mean, he was able to swindle the receptionist until the bounty hunter came in and kind of ruined his whole persona.
True.
And then it was all about, it's like, oh, I'm going to give you all the credits. It's like, keep the secret.
I mean, I think you can do that if you have enough money. And that's what that was, in my opinion, because that's also one thing that surprised me a little. He didn't try to use a mind trick or something like that. I mean, he tried, I guess, but then didn't work, and he switched to dataries, Old Republic credits. What?
I was going to say, come on, John. Come on. If Ray can just learn it randomly without even knowing what she was doing, come on, John. You can do a mind trick easily here. You've got training.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like comparing a sports car to a space hopper.
Who's a space hopper?
Well, Ray has lineage
that they didn't know about or have an idea of set in stone until the final movie, which is the funny part.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but you cannot take it like that. You cannot take an off-screen fact and include it into the reality of what we've seen on screen.
You're right. She's a Skywalker.
No. No. That is worse.
I love
than
how
George.
we all have
Right,
our red
right.
lines. Jesus God, nope. Mm-mm.
No, worse
But-
than John with his billions of names.
There's a Skywalker in there somewhere.
Oh my God. He is
Judd Skywalker.
It was Luke, Leia, and John.
Oh God, imagine. Just
But I mean,
the end of Revenge of the Sith, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a third baby.
yeah, they were triplets, so you just didn't see it.
Yeah, we're just gonna fire one off into space, and whatever happens with him happens.
give him half a medallion, and when he finds the rest of them, they put the medallions together.
But the things fit together, but that there's like a tiny chip.
That'd be pretty funny.
Oh my god, I can't. No.
But throwing lineage aside, though, like just because she has Palpatine blood, I mean, Palpatine is just known because of who he is, but doesn't make him his lineage any better than any other Force user lineage. The only ones that I would agree with is the Skywalker line, just because of Anakin being the chosen one and how he was created. Everybody else is just born naturally. Anakin is the only exception, or the Skywalker line should be the only exception.
So what does midichlorian count in this? We have to know. Because if it's similar to Yoda, why not?
No doubt he's I'm not saying he's not a powerful Jedi, or Force user, because he's definitely not a powerful Jedi. He's a powerful Sith. But I mean, he is a powerful Force user. But I mean, doesn't it count? I know we're kind of jumping into the movies, but literally, like Rey was just laying down in a chair, and it's like, oh wait, my first try, I'm gonna do a mind trick. And so if we have like Jod, who is here, can't do a mind trick, it's like, come on, man. What are you even doing with your life, bro?
But then, you're using the example of the mind trick, and that's kind of exactly what Palpatine was doing on a grand scale.
Basically.
So, I'd say that maybe that's why Rey was able to do it so quickly, because it is in her blood.
Manipulation is part of the Palpatine way.
Yeah. Whereas Jod is a space pirate with the Force. That is purely why I'm saying he's not been trained in any Jedi arts or Sith arts, or he's just sort of been in a weird sense playing with himself.
What?
I don't think we can say that on the podcast.
Just did.
No. Please, could you please rephrase that?
No, I can't.
Perfect.
Basically, what he means is that Jod was basically training himself. Like, looked at holocrons and practiced.
Yes,
and so basically so you're basically just saying he had no formal training before.
Yeah.
And it's just all just learned on a whim.
Yeah, like self-taught, it's
you missed the joke.
It's I'm trying to move on from the joke and from my terrible mind, to be fair.
Episode is unhinged. You cannot move away anymore.
No, well, I'm trying to now.
Hey, you said the episode was boring, so we're trying to keep it entertaining for y'all,
I mean, this is the best part of the episode, and we're not even properly talking about the episode. No, I don't know. He just it just doesn't feel right for him to be trained in the Jedi arts, or to use the Force properly. It kind of feels like it would go against his character. I know we've had like ropey plot explanations in the last Star Wars project that came out, but because it's so lightly touched on that he has the Force, I don't think they're going to make a big point about it, and I quite like that, to be fair. I like
just keeping it very subtle.
Yeah, the mystery of it. We don't really need to know his backstory.
I need to know.
I mean, it would be good if we did know, but we don't need to know to help progress with this
the
story. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that is all fair. So, I mean, to use a Dungeons and Dragons term, I'd probably say he would fit more of a chaotic neutral character.
Yeah.
Because he's not necessarily evil, but he's definitely not good.
I mean, he's a pirate. He's got his own
code.
Yeah. He knows what he wants and how he's going to get it. He knows how
to manipulate. Not looking to dominate the galaxy with the Force.
It's Captain Jack Sparrow in space.
Captain Jack Sparrow was a little bit nicer, though.
He was, unless he wanted something, and then he knew how to manipulate people.
This is true, like rum.
Yeah. So.
Or his Black Pearl.
Love that shit.
Yeah, brilliant shit.
Onyx Cinder. Another way to say Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
I mean, it's. This is why I found the episode boring. Because it is just so many tropes of sci-fi movies and pirate movies mashed into one.
I mean, I guess that's fair. But, I mean, I guess Jude Law's character is it's probably like the biggest point of, or the most interesting thing of the story. I mean, I still am enjoying the show and the story. Like, I still think, despite it being boring for some people, I would have to still say that the acting is way good. Like, especially just for the children, the dynamic of the children, I think is really, really well done. And especially with how Jude Law interacts with the children as well.
Yeah, I mean, the writing or the script writing is 100% better than the last project.
We're gonna say Book of Boba.
Well, I mean, it's better than that.
Just so we don't mention the other project. Fluffy told us that we're not allowed to mention.
Fluffy has banned us from talking about the name of that show that may or may not begin with an A. But it is the writing is so much better than it.
Let's say the writing, the acting, the visuals, pacing.
I cannot believe you people. No, it's not. It's not. Acting, maybe. Just because of Jude Law, maybe.
Hey, you gotta give a high five to those kids. They do a really good job with their characters. Because I mean, let's talk about Fern and Wim. You hate both of those characters, which means they're playing their characters extremely well. Because they're meant to be the annoying kids that you just want to.
They spend
backhand
more than half of this episode under silly costumes, making faces and saying shit like.
That's what's funny about it. They're still kids. And you can see the patience
of the podcast either.
What?
Buffy said a bad word.
Oh, I didn't hear it. But I mean, they're still children. Like they're seeing this as an adventure. They've never been on anything like this, and the galaxy is not what they thought it was. Like it's completely different. And so you got these children who are just like, "Yep, we're on an adventure." Like Wim has his little breakdown, but they're still just a bunch of kids. It's like, okay, well, we don't know how to act like adults because we've never needed to.
For me, Fern's disappointment in Jaw Dash whatever does not make any sense. She has been skeptical from the get-go. She has been actively in a campaign against him, not trusting him, this and that. And in the end, when she gets a knife in her throat, she's like, "You're an adult. We're just kids. What is that?"
Exactly, they're just kids. Like we can't treat these kids as if they're like adult characters written. Like I think the kids are written very well. It's like, especially in that moment, it's like, okay, well, I've just trusted you to do this whole thing. Even the beginning of the episode, they sit there and have a battle of, or I would say more like an argument. She's like, "Well, you're afraid." He's like, "Well, no, you're afraid too." And they had like their little banter going on there, and then she's like, "All right, KB, switch with me," or whatever. And so I don't think it was ever changed by the end of the episode, but he's been the adult figure for them this entire journey. And he had some sense of like, "Oh yeah, I'm on your side. I'm helping you guys." Because she even said like, "You don't get your reward until you get us back home safely." And then he sits there and backstabs and is like, "You know what? You're a kid. I could easily kill you. So I'm going to give you the option to submit while I try and take your captain seat. But I'll kill you if I have to." Because he could have just straight out killed her and not even given them the option. But he still needed them.
That would have made the show so much better.
If he killed Fern.
Yeah.
He
Because
is without.
No. Okay, let's leave this whole, "Oh, but they're kids, blah, blah, blah" thing all aside, because we've seen kids die in movies and shows. And
Revenge of the Sith, yeah. General Grievous kills one in Clone Wars.
Like, this character does not convince me at all. What? Yeah, he wants the treasure. He's willing to do whatever. Like, why? Why is he still dragging these 4 kids around? He does
because because when he gets to Atten, he can say, "I've got your 4 kids. Give me your money or they all die." They're a bargaining chip for him.
Against an entire planet
that don't know how to fight, to be fair. They just know how to make money. They're just going to throw a bunch of Republic credits at him.
We do not.
It's the Ewoks all over again.
I don't know. Not convince me at all. Like, something is seriously missing with the plot, the motivation. Like, I understand Jod's motivation. It is the fact that he has been searching for treasure, and that's why there was a mutiny, blah, 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 his crew.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he loved his ship. We don't know. But he is alone with 4 kids. What does he think he's going to do? Is he going to go to the planet and bring all the treasure with him and go to his crew and say, "I told you so"? What is the motivation?
Money. That's all he wanted is credits.
And a compass
That's his story.
that doesn't point north.
Huh?
He needs a compass that doesn't point north.
Honestly, that'd be pretty funny.
That is the droid, the compass that doesn't point to the planet.
This is also true.
This is just Pirates of the Caribbean in space now. Like, whichever way we look at it, we've just analysed the episode from one character perspective, and it is Pirates of the Caribbean in space.
100%. They were like, "Oh, damn, Johnny Depp is not available anymore. Let's move on to Jude Law and put it in space."
This is fair.
Sorry, it's just this is. There was one good moment in this episode. One. And that's when Wim picked up the lightsaber and was going to be all like heroic and ignites it the wrong way around.
I love that. So they kind of built up Wim. He's the kind of guy or kid that goes around and sits there and pushes buttons even when he's not supposed to. And this is the one time that it actually works out for him. But then it backfires.
Yeah.
And you saw that, right? Like you saw it coming.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh my god, that's the bottom. That is the bottom. Oh my god. Because I felt like he was going to stab himself.
Would have been better.
See, yeah, we need... Okay.
Remember what happened in the episode 5 of the last show that we saw? And all the characters died?
True.
We are not talking about that episode, okay?
Still a brilliant episode, but I mean,
look at his face and tell him that.
Oh, it's looking the wrong way.
You're dead, mate.
Yeah, your head should be looking behind you.
Look at his face. Okay, whatever. What I wanted to say was that I think I am missing the stakes.
I'll agree with that.
Like there is nothing on the line. There is nothing on the line for me.
Yeah. The planet being found out.
But
and being raided by pirates.
The adults know that the planet has been shut off from the rest of the universe. So surely, like, someone's going to find it again eventually anyway. It's kind of a big plot hole, really. Like, there's these other planets that exist. People in the galaxy ain't that stupid.
Apparently they are. Even the Empire.
You know, it's this episode would have been better if there was some bloodshed.
I mean, technically there was. We just didn't see it.
And that was a very bad decision. That also took out the convincing part of the character for me. He committed murder. Why did we not see...
He gave everybody an acid bath.
Yeah. And it was horrible, but they literally didn't show it. Like, I feel like this show is just skirting around things and nothing is like, oh, you see, like that's what I'm saying. The stakes. There is nothing. He pulls a blade against a kid, nothing happens.
Ooh, big man.
Pulls out a lightsaber, nothing happens. He commits murder, actually, like multiple at once.
Is it really murder, though?
The droid tries to kill children. He doesn't. We think he's broken. He's not. Everything is back to normal. Like, where are the stakes? We see the build up, nothing at the end. Build up, nothing at the end. Build up, nothing at the end. That's what I'm thinking that this whole show is going to turn out as well. An entire season of build up and nothing at the end.
I mean, we're what? five out of 8 episodes.
Yeah.
And
we need to get to Atten already.
Yeah, this is the same as how I felt about the Acolyte. You know, I was positive.
You said it.
Know. I know I said it. But in this way, it's a good comparison in the way that I felt positive initially about that show. And look how that one went. And it's the same with this. It started off so well, and now we're just at the point where we're over halfway and nothing is happening. Like we have 3 episodes left. Are they going to spend the last episode getting back to the planet and sorting everything out within 5 minutes? Because if that's the case, what was the point?
I'm telling you, if I was the person who was greenlighting these shows and everything, I would have killed this one, not the other one.
But I mean, this is Kathleen Kennedy we're talking about. The most loved director of Lucasfilm by all the fans that we can't get rid of.
Still, when you compare those two shows, I think the one that got killed was at a much better place by episode 5 than this one is. I think everybody is just kidding themselves by telling themselves that this is a kids show. Rebels
It's fun.
show. Clone Wars was a kids show. Look at how insane those things were.
True.
Please, let's not kid ourselves just because there are 4 child actors.
It's
bad.
It's becoming more apparent, even to me, that we are in a state of play where there's too much Star Wars, which is weird to say, but and it always follows the same criteria. You've got the lovable, cute character. So like Mando, you have Sir Grogu. This,
Sir Din Grogu.
Sir Din Grogu. This show, we've got Neil, like the lovable character that is cute and all that stuff, and you've got the token droid that is one thing or another, and it's the same formula, just in a different setting, mixed with Pirates of the Caribbean.
Exactly. Like, it has become way too formulaic. That's why I loved the other show so much better. Even though it was Jedi and so on and so forth, it was different. But this one is basically the exact same Star Wars formula as we see it, but it is really badly executed.
Yeah.
There is nothing behind it.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's kind of how Marvel kind of had its downfall too, though. It's just because it also became very formulaic.
Oh, definitely. Like, to compare this to the Acolyte, again, mentioning it for the second time by name. If
I'm just gonna say I'd watch this over Acolyte any day, though.
No, you're kidding yourself.
If the Acolyte was re-edited and was better
acting, better pacing, better story.
Re-edit it so it makes actual sense instead of the back and forth between flashback and normal time and everything. Maybe it would be better because it had some pretty good scenes.
Get rid of the twins and the show would already be better.
Look, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at Acolyte until the end of episode 5.
Yeah.
And remember, what was the thing that stood out to you until then? And what is the thing that stands out to you in this entire 5 episodes of Skeleton Crew? I am so sorry, but I dare you to pinpoint and say, this made this show epic for me. There is nothing. Not a single scene that anyone...
Acolyte did have episode 5 that made that show epic, and that's the only thing that made that show fun was the lightsaber fight.
What made this show fun? Tell me what makes Skeleton Crew better than Acolyte.
I mean,
nothing.
The writing,
acting, pacing.
Yeah.
But if we're going as far as like entertaining,
nope.
Because
snooze fest.
A lot of people love the show, and there's got to be a reason for it.
That's the thing. I am looking for that reason. I need someone to tell me this is the reason.
The blue elephant dude. You think I'm?
We get to see fun planets.
I mean, you can take out all the planets and boring, But a lot of people will like a show because of the cute characters.
I am that person, Sammy.
No, you're not anymore.
My name is Fluffy because that's what I do. I pick those singular characters and I love them to death. But
And he literally did die.
Even Neil cannot save this.
No,
It's a train wreck.
It's the same formula though. That's what it is.
But I mean, you could put this on the same level as Goonies, Indiana Jones, and it's all the same type of adventure. And it's got the same type of character development, same. Like, it's a fun adventure. Which is different than most of the Star Wars that we do see, though.
That's the problem, though, is that we've seen it so many times before. I mean, you know, the two
but
examples.
Not in space.
No, but at the same time, kind of. Like, we've not seen proper pirates in space as such, but we have seen pirates in space in Star Wars. You know, we have Hondo and his whole arc that we've seen.
Pirates are so smart they can capture Count Dooku.
Yeah, like this is just Pirates of the Caribbean in space at this point, with kids playing the supporting cast role. You know, it's just one of those shows that, as much as I don't want to agree with Fluffy to say that she was right about it, but it shouldn't have been made at this point. Like, we are 5 episodes in, and all we've done in this podcast recording is talk about one character. We've not talked about the plot because there is no plot in this episode.
Yeah, Jude is pretty much the highlight of this show.
Yeah. So it's great, you know, we've got this big name in Star Wars again, you know, but why? Like, take a breather, work on the other projects that are meant to come out. You know, we've got Andor. Yeah, and I'm on the fence about Andor because every 3 episodes then there's a time jump. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that because I just want a linear story. I don't want here's a 3-episode arc. Oh, and then we're like a year ahead or 2 years ahead or something.
They kind of did that in season 1, though. It was like months, but
yeah, it's not the same. It's not to the same length. You know, this has already been said that it's 3-episode arc, time jump, 3-episode arc, time jump. You know, they've got the Mando Grogu movie. They've got Ahsoka season 2. Focus more on the projects that you've got pre-established than trying to create something new.
Yeah.
At this point, I am so fed up and so disappointed that I don't even want to see Andor anymore because I know how it ends. You gave me Rogue One and A New Hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, again, there's no stakes in it. Like,
we're just learning about Cassian and his introduction to the rebellion. That's pretty much it.
Like, fantastic first season, 100%. But they made me so fed up with all of this no stakes situation that I am not even interested in seeing that. I am looking forward to what is going to happen with Mando because that is something completely new. And Ahsoka because of the villain there and how convincing Thrawn is as a villain.
Yeah.
That's it.
From the rumor bin that I've been hearing is, I know you're gonna love this, but Jod is going to be not just in Skeleton Crew. And I think this whole story is a build-up for him rather than anything else.
This does not surprise me because this is Jude Law we're talking about. We're not talking about some like this is a basically legendary actor at this point.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what has happened in the past. Of course he's not going to sign in just for 8 episodes and going to be like, yeah, okay, I got my money and I'm done.
Yeah. I mean,
this is Dumbledore we're talking about. Young Dumbledore.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I tried to forget about that.
Oh no.
Those movies do not exist for me either. But if
And he's in Marvel. So he's in like 3 of the main fan movies.
Did a mass contract with Disney. That's what they do now.
Mm-hmm.
They just sign in for 12 projects. They don't even know what it is.
It could just be a cameo for all they know.
This is just disgusting. I hate that.
Yeah, this is very much like how Marvel was treated. After Endgame, when we knew what happened to the characters, we then had Black Widow, which I liked the movie.
Just bad timing for it.
Bad time because we already knew what happened to Black Widow. Yes, it introduced her sister as a character, but as a story,
they haven't done much with her anyways
yet. Because the Thunderbolts is coming out this year, and I can't wait for that. But
oh, that's right.
Black Widow's like Andor in that sense that we already know what's going on. We know what happens to the character. Like we don't have to care. Like there's nothing at stake. This feels a bit like, I mean, the best way I can put it is this feels like Guardians of the Galaxy watered down, mixed in with Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's like you said, it's so formulaic and it's so similar to past Disney projects. It is basically because the formula works. No matter what they do, we're like, okay. I mean, they literally tried to perfect this thing. Their 3 biggest money makers. Star Wars, it is the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and it is things that are aimed at kids. Put 3 together, here's Skeleton Crew, came out. It's literally like came out of ChatGPT or something. Here is the biggest moneymaker that we can imagine for you. It gets all 3 of your target groups in the same project, and there you go. I mean, honestly,
and it's fun.
I fell asleep.
I know.
I fell asleep. I did. Please, let's not forget this. I am not this person. I sit in front of my TV and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited for what's going to happen next. They put me to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that will happily rewatch like Family Guy because I can sit there and I can enjoy it. This episode, particularly of Skeleton Crew, felt like a chore to watch. I was sat there and I was just like, is there anything else I could be doing? Because it was dull. It was dull. It was, I don't know how many more times I can say it, but it's already been done. We can say, oh, it's like the Goonies or like Indiana Jones, but
so just watch the Goonies and watch Indiana Jones.
Yeah, like how old are those movies? We're talking like 70s and 80s. So that idea, that trope has been done for decades at this point.
And I will have to agree with you guys on it because I mean I do think that the acting is really good, pacing is really good, the story is very generic, and I'm loving the whole cinematic, like how it's filmed. And I would agree that it's like if you're looking at Star Wars projects, it's like I'm gonna have to agree with Sam on that one. It's like is this going to be a show that I am going to rewatch if I wasn't doing the podcast? Probably not. Like a lot of the Star Wars projects, like you said, are becoming very formulaic, and it's very hard to go back and watch these because the stories are so generic. And I'm gonna have to agree with Fluffy on this. The stakes really aren't that engaging for you to be like edge of your seat, like what's gonna happen next. Like the way this episode ended, like Jaw just grabs the lightsaber and then all you hear is it turning on. You don't actually see it turn on. It was like, okay, well, there's a lot of things that would be cool to see, but we just don't get to see it. Like the acid bath, that would have been fun.
Maybe stabbing Fern in the arm or something, so she then concedes her captaincy, would have been better than, oh, I'm just going to hold a knife up to your neck and keep telling you to concede. It's like you
already told her, so now force her to do it. If you really don't want to kill her, show her that you are at least going to harm her.
Yeah.
Give her the idea that you're going to kill her because you harmed her.
Yeah, that would have been a better way that it would have turned out. But there was nothing. Like, I'm not on about, Anakin Skywalker going all Order 66 on the kid.
Hey, Fluffy was.
Temple.
Fluffy wanted his friend to die.
I mean,
I didn't want them to die. I just thought it could have been at least like something that I would believe in.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
There is a stake there. No. He was like, please tell me you healed. Please tell me you healed. Yield.
Yeah, there was a lot of talking and no consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be becoming the new Star Wars thing, because like you watch the movies, Luke loses a hand, Anakin loses an arm, then Anakin loses all his limbs and they get stuck in a suit. Obi-Wan even gets stabbed in the leg against Count Dooku. And there's all throughout Clone Wars, you see stakes are being thrown around and people lose limbs or they die. And in a lot of the recent Star Wars projects, if you're a main character, nothing bad's going to happen to you. You get extensive plot armor.
Yeah. I mean, even if we look at the sequel trilogy.
Nope, Rey did not lose an arm.
Rey didn't. Kylo Ren didn't. He had that facial scar. But that would, it's a freaking lightsaber. That would have done more damage than that. But we'll go in.
He did get stabbed through the chest too, actually.
Yeah,
but he's a bad guy, so
he then
that's okay.
Got healed by the Force. So what stakes there was, and what emotion we may have felt about him dying, was then taken away seconds later. We are now at a point where we can't really call Star Wars Star Wars.
Mm-mm.
I know it's more the Skeleton Crew under the Star Wars banner, but Star Wars isn't like that. There's no war in this. The whole point of Star Wars, it's in the title.
It's a war to get to Aten. The Pirate War.
A war against who, though? Because this episode did nothing.
This is fair.
But like all joking aside about most things with this episode and how bad it was, like objectively, we can't keep calling Star Wars things Star Wars. That Star Wars is
just become a brand at this point.
Yeah, it's a name that you can attach to a project that might loosely be resembling something in space, and call it Star Wars and people will watch it. It's like Field of Dreams.
This is kind of what they could have done, is like, it doesn't have to be a whole galactic war, but on all these different planets, you got a bunch of governments, and there's got to be wars on those planets that they can like literally just jump in, go there. It's like, okay, well, we got these two governments, they're fighting each other, blah blah blah. Kind of like make a Game of Thrones style, but on a planet.
I mean, we had a somewhat civil war in the last episode, and Fluffy hated it.
This is true.
So even then, I think the war idea, again, it would just be another version of what we've already seen. Like how many times can we see war in Star Wars? But then how many times can we see other projects in Star Wars? Like it's
asking
Disney,
for
listen to the fans.
are there in Star Wars? Okay, sure. Yeah, no, I mean, my problem was not with the Civil War. My problem is with the fact that there are way too many underdeveloped subplots.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
If we were, like, if this was established, like, in episode 2, there are many planets, and we're in the first one, and there is a civil war in here. Sure, go ahead. Give that planet an entire episode and develop that plot. Third episode, go to another planet. I don't care. But when we have, by the 5th episode, 6 subplots that are not developed at all, when the plot number is more than the episode number, I'm out.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That.
But we get to go to Skull Mountain.
I mean,
so
Mark, I love how you're still trying to keep this together and how you're still like, there's something more to look forward to. We can hear it in your voice, and thank you so much for doing that.
Well, I was gonna say, what about the Easter eggs? Did you guys enjoy under the Easter eggs on this planet, like getting to see the huts, for instance?
Yeah, sure.
And we got Darth Plagueis' species just chilling there in the bass. And you did post your notes, which I thought was hilarious. You put Pleasure Planet.
And that is the name of the podcast episode.
Pleasure Planet.
This is not Treasure Planet. It is Pleasure Planet. Name of the episode.
Because I will jump into my notes about a couple of things that I actually didn't care for, because I thought it was funny, because they basically said, okay, you're on this planet, adults only, no children allowed. So John's like, okay, let's dress up as these little alien characters and I'll speak for you, which I thought that was hilarious. Like, I think a lot of the jokes were pretty funny. I don't know if you guys enjoyed any of the jokes in the episode other than Wim holding the lightsaber backwards.
I enjoyed the on-the-fly dress up as these weird alien ambassadors or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was then sort of underdeveloped because
it was undermined, I would say, because as soon as they're actually on it, after they leave the room, I know Fern and Wim both had their hoods off and everything. They're just walking around like normal, like, okay, yeah, it's like children aren't here, but nobody's gonna stop us now that we're in.
What is that thing where he was like, the wise elders, these basic words are not for them. I will translate. What is that?
So they don't speak.
It was a bit of a stretch.
It was, and that's why I'm saying is like I'm starting to see what Fluffy was talking about, that no stakes. It's like, okay, the stakes are kids aren't on this planet, but they need to find the lair. But now that they're in, they can walk around without hiding themselves.
Nothing.
Until the guard comes up and questions Jude Law, but not the children.
Yeah,
he's like, oh yeah, the children are not a problem, but you have a different name than you're calling because you don't look like the alien from the planet. So therefore, I'm going after you.
Yeah.
But forget the kids.
They found a Java cape, put it on Neil, and everything was fine. He's a wise elder now. You can see his face. You can see everything.
It's supposed to be fun or funny.
It
The humor was.
And shake and be like, "Come to your senses, you don't."
This is the other thing. Whim. It's just, it just like Whim, very whimsical.
Yar.
I mean, he is a very whimsical character, and I think that's why they named him Whim.
Nah, in this episode, he was just kind of, apart from that one lightsaber moment, which everybody saw coming, even he grated on me. It was just like, what is the, like, what am I watching? Like, why?
Why did he have to run crying? And then we had to have that moment. Like, they literally poked us in the eye. Like, oh, he's talking about attachments. He's a Force user. He said attachment, and there's a lightsaber. Now put the dots together. What is this?
But he didn't even want to talk to the kid. He's like, "Oh, the kid's crying. I'm trying to get out of here." And then
Exactly, and that
so
is
Whim just starts talking. He's like, "Ah, all right."
tired and like,
Annoyed.
Good trope of adult men not being able to handle children's emotions.
Well, I mean, it's different. No, because we've had characters like that actually were father-like figures and actually listened. But
like, no
Jawed
reason.
being a pirate and not necessarily being a good guy, I think it was just kind of a way to show that this guy is not as good as. Like, I thought he was going to turn good and be like one of those guys. It's like, okay, I'm around these children, they're growing on me, so I'm going to protect them and I'm going to build this bond with them. And instead, it's like, been with these kids, but this kid's crying. He's annoying. But I'll sit here and give him a little speech. Speech he's not going to want to hear. Basically, he's saying, stop being a crybaby and get up and be a man.
Exactly. And that is not the message we want to give.
Well, I mean, he's a pirate, so he's not going to give us the message we want.
I mean, that is true, but when the message is, would you rather be watching Pirates of the Caribbean because this is just Pirates of the Caribbean but in space? I would rather watch Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, that is the clear message that I got as well. Yeah,
Fair enough. Or Raiders of the Lost Ark, because we did get the Ark of the Covenant in the layer.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys spotted that. It's kind of quick, but I also thought when. Say again?
Guess where else that the Ark of the Covenant was used?
Clone Wars?
Pirates of the Caribbean. It actually was, by the way. It's just fun fact.
I've only seen the first two, so
it was repurposed as the chest with the gold in it.
Oh, interesting. Very cool.
So yeah, bit of random knowledge, and that's why I'm saying Pirates of the Caribbean is better.
I mean, yeah, if I'm going to watch a pirate film, it's going to be pirates.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of where they're kind of struggling. It's like there's no originality in Hollywood anymore. It's always remakes or copied ideas.
That's also very much true. That is also what makes me so tired of new Star Wars at the moment. Because we know they are out of original ideas. We know.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. We do not expect as fans, at least I have to talk for myself. I don't expect a new project every 3 months. That is
and I'm hoping that they are going to slow down on that.
I really hope so. I think that is also why Skeleton Crew was repurposed into this, because what is better, to release a new episode every week for 2 months, or one movie that, like, I mean, to be fair, I have to ask you guys this as well. if Skeleton Crew came out as a movie, would you have been immediately there to watch it in the theaters?
Just because it's Star Wars.
Would not have. I would have waited for it to drop to Disney Plus.
Yeah, I would have. It for me, it actually depends. If I saw a trailer and I was like, okay, that looks cool, I've got some time to see it, I'll go see it.
Okay. For me, for example, as a person who doesn't speak English as a first language and who lives somewhere like in a country which dubs all of their movies, I get to go to the movies only once a week for the very special movies that come out here in the original language as well. I live in a very small city. I get to see the original version of a movie once, and they are just shown once in a movie theater in the week, and then it's gone. And I don't know if I would have made the time to be like, oh, let me check this out. Let me go follow this, grab the ticket before they run out, and run to the movie theaters to be there on time and so on and so forth. Like for me and for a whole bunch of other Star Wars fans, it's actually a hassle, an effort to do this.
Yeah.
And Scouts and Crew, I don't think would have been worth my time and effort as it is now.
I think that's the difference between where you are and where Mark and I are, because we are obviously in English speaking, like native speaking countries, and we have the English language movies out, so
easily available.
Yeah, we have the luxury of saying, okay, well, the movie's been out for 2 weeks, it's still in the cinema, let's go see it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, with yourself, you are limited to that one showing.
Mm-hmm.
So I get where you're coming from in that you wouldn't make the time to see it in English or at all, if it was a movie, because of that limited availability. Whereas, that's why I'm on the fence about it, and it would depend on trailers, because I have the luxury of saying, oh, movie's out, see it in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, because I don't even go to the movies that often now.
Like,
Can't remember the last movie I saw.
I go to the movies as often as I can. But for me, it is always a hassle. It is always an effort. I have to be very aware of what time and so on and so forth, like what day it is on in the city that I'm in and so on. And I've done that for example, episodes 7, 8, 9. I did. I've been to midnight showings in another country just to watch that. But with the quality that is declining like this, the next Star Wars movie is not going, if of course I hope it is Mando and Grogu, then I'm going to be right there, midnight, first day possible. But if they keep going like this, I will not. I will just be like, yeah, I'll wait until it's out in Disney Plus. And I will probably not even give the chance, if the project is completely new like Skeleton Crew, I will probably first hear you guys out and be like, so how was it? Is it worth my time? And this is not good, especially for a person who is as much in love with Star Wars as I am.
But old Star Wars, because like you said, like a lot of the stuff now, it's like I've even heard a lot of their fans. It's like we're not even sure we can call it Star Wars anymore.
Well,
it's like just exactly throwing in a lightsaber and a force user that's about it.
And that's not even what I need anymore. I just need it to be a good story. I need to be convinced with the motivations of characters. I need to believe in the stakes.
Yeah.
Wow,
that is fair.
super intense.
But
It's
I mean, it's things that need to be said though, because Disney just keeps producing just generic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the annoying thing is with this, we're in a time period that we kind of know what will happen, but at the same time, it's a completely separate story. It's like the Mandoverse. We've seen that timeline. Like we know where it ends up. We know what's gonna happen. So again, there's really very little stakes if we think about it. It's just we like the characters and it's a separate story to the Skywalker saga.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is just too generic sci-fi pirate trope that we don't need to know. And it's kind of, for me, why part of the big reason why the Acolyte failed, because it was a timeline that we didn't need to know about. Like, great, we got to see early Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't early enough. Like, if it was the beginnings of the Jedi Council, that would have been great for me. But it was just, it was 100 years before the Skywalker saga. That's not enough time when we know what's going to happen down the line in a better story.
We just want to show you that the Jedi are becoming arrogant 100 years before Anakin wipes them all out. Is basically it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say this. I don't want to say this, but we either need something completely, like, thousands of years before Skywalker saga or everything, or hundreds of years later than that. It's just, there can be lightsabers, there can be force users, but we have to separate from these characters and from these storylines that we know how they'll end.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't need any more Star Wars.
And I think that's the other thing, is that because we have the sequel trilogy and we know it's all building up to the First Order, that there's really no stakes there. Like, I know Taika Waititi, he's supposed to be doing a film, which about the very first Jedi. Then Rian Johnson, I don't even know if he's still doing his trilogies, and have no idea what that's about. Then we got the Rey Skywalker movie. But I agree, like, they have so much material in the expanded universe that they could jump into. Like, literally jump into the Old Republic, like legit Old Republic, not High Republic.
Yeah.
Or, like you said, jump ahead into the future. Like, even if you go with the Skywalker name, Cade Skywalker, like, he was a very interesting character. He was kind of a smuggler pirate, but rejected this whole Skywalker name and then kind of became a hero on his own accord.
So I'd say let's move away from. I love the idea of jumping into the far future, and maybe take parts of the expanded universe. The whole what is it? The you, however you pronounce it.
The Yuuzhan Vong.
That's the one. I like the idea of that. So maybe have that idea, but in the further future, Jedi are back again because
they're established.
That whole thing's gone. There's a new Jedi Order. Everything's kind of peaceful, and then these whole new aliens from outside of the galaxy come and just tear it up.
It's like, oh, yeah, your little force trick? Yeah, that doesn't work on me, bro.
Yeah, like that would make a much better Star Wars movie, and you can do a trilogy of them.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about Emperor Palpatine and and the Skywalker name. Maybe have like a reference to Skywalker. So, like you say, Cade, maybe.
Yeah.
But let's move away from from what we've had and rehashed many times already, completely new, and go from there.
Exactly. That is at least what we need at the moment. Maybe in the future, with people who actually understand the lore, who understand the fans, we can move forward with these type of things. But at the moment, it is glaringly obvious that we need a restart. We need a fresh set of eyes, a fresh story, fresh new characters, and something different. Because what they are doing right now does not work.
Yeah. And, I mentioned it earlier about Goonies and Indiana Jones being 70s and 80s. But then when we look at the original Star Wars trilogy, that was also 70s and 80s. Like, we're referencing movies again that are decades old and are beloved by a lot of people. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those movies. But now it has got too much. It's too much with no substance. It's just, it is time to stop and let things die for a bit. Just let them go. And I'd say the same with Marvel as well. They need to stop. Just stop. It's great what they're doing, but they have to change their plans and all of that stuff. And it's like, all right, time to stop. We've done the same superhero movie. We know Act 1, the good guy loses. Act 2, he or she trains. Act 3, they win. Like, we've seen that. Same with Star Wars. We've seen bad guy, good guy, family connection, cute alien sidekick. We don't need any more. Have a break. Look to the future and the past, and go from there.
All fair points. All fair points. Because I do know that the reason why this feels like so many of the other older projects, because that's what they're trying to do, is bring it back to the 80s style film. But as you said, like at this point, it's just overdone and overused.
Yeah. I mean, the reference that they made to the holiday special was, in what was it, episode 1? This show,
Yeah,
1 or 2. That was good if you have seen the holiday special, which is one of the most hated Star Wars side projects. It wasn't well received when it was made.
It's the train wreck that you can't look away from.
Yeah, but to make that reference as an Easter egg, you need to be more than a super fan. You need to live, breathe, eat, sleep Star Wars all the time.
I'm going to disagree with that now, because at Disneyland they do a lot of stuff called Life Day and reference it a lot. So it's becoming. I mean, you still have to be like your big fan. I wouldn't say like a super fan, but it is becoming a little bit more available information.
Yeah. Okay. I'll sort of concede.
So if you're gonna go for the one, I'd say is like super fans is like the Ewok animated movies and the Droid animated movie with 3PO and R2, and then let alone even just the Ewok TV show, which was also very terrible.
Yes, it was. Let's not mention that one either.
Oh, we're definitely going to be reviewing it. Don't worry.
Yay! Ewoks again. But when you have to make references to things from the 70s and 80s to try and be relevant today, instead of making new ideas, something's gone wrong. I mean, we had 4, 5, and 6 in the 70s and 80s. Then we had, apart from the terrible spin-offs like the holiday special and the animated ones, we basically had nothing until 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, like 1998.
Yeah. And then between 2 and 3, you had the 2D Clone Wars, which I still enjoy. I would love to see that remade in the actual Clone Wars animation style. But so you had that, and then you had episode 3, and that's kind of where it went wrong basically when Disney took it over, because it then became this thing of, oh, what makes money? Star Wars makes money. Let's throw money at Star Wars and hope for the best, but oversaturate the market. And it is the same with Marvel. It's, that had the same thing. Disney took it over, and then we got a load of stuff, and it's still going.
And they even tried to do that hotel experience that cost way, way too much. That ended up failing because of the price point.
Yeah.
So that's episode 5.
So we all hate Star Wars, apparently.
It was not Pleasure Planet.
No. I mean...
Concubines. What's a concubine?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Double conversations.
So
there's fun moments, guys. Come on.
There was a couple of fun moments.
Is it overall the best project that Disney's thrown out? No.
Finally, you said one single negative thing about it.
So that one negative thing is like super big. Nah, it's.
I think that's probably why I'm enjoying it more, is because I'm not seeing it as a Star Wars project anymore because of how it feels. I think I'm just kind of just sitting looking at it as just a pirate adventure. Kind of more of a nostalgic feel rather than how is this going to connect to everything else in Star Wars.
I mean, I will agree with that. You can watch it and think, okay, it doesn't really connect to anything in Star Wars, because aside from a couple of X-Wings, it doesn't connect to Star Wars really at all.
Mm-mm.
You can even take the Force as just a wizard, a space wizard.
Yeah. Magic.
Go back to the 70s, and that's what Obi-Wan was originally. He was just a space wizard.
A space wizard.
So,
I hate that they keep saying wizard.
I like it.
What? It's hilarious. Anakin said in episode 1, and then they reuse the word Slimo.
Yeah. But again, you're then talking of a throwback to a movie that was made 2 decades ago. 3 decades?
I think that's probably one of the biggest. I think that's one of the biggest problems now. It's like, just like with The Force Awakens, like what Disney is trying to do is, it's like, oh, let's bring this nostalgic value. So Force Awakens reminds you of A New Hope. And they throw in all these Easter eggs and stuff like that don't really, like, they're cool to see, but they just serve no purpose. And so...
exactly how that is, like, that's the feeling that I have, and that's the feeling that I don't like anymore. They are just thinking that it is an easy emotional connection when they use those words, and they're like, oh, now she's going to remember episode 1 and she's going to be so... No, episode 1 is my favorite movie. my favorite movie of the entire saga. And you using those 2 words is not going to redeem this entire episode of things that are going to nowhere. That feels like emotional manipulation.
Yeah.
So basically, Disney needs to evolve past trying to bring nostalgic feelings and just start actually taking risks with some of the stories. Which I will give a fair point. They did take a risk with Acolyte. Just was executed very poorly also.
Yeah.
And I do give credit to Rian Johnson for also taking a risk on changing the story, but the sequels just didn't feel like they belonged as a trilogy together.
No.
So
that
Disney
was,
needs to step away from a lot of that and just...
I mean, in my opinion, giving a trilogy to 3 different directors is a bad move from get-go. They
Just
should have
to
stuck with J.J. Abrams.
Making a point, the original trilogy was different directors, but one writer. That's the difference. You can have 3 different directors, or 2 in this case, but have a continuous story.
I stand corrected, 100%.
But you are right. Like when you have different people writing the story or changing it, that's when it loses its substance. Whereas when George Lucas was writing the original trilogy and the prequels, it was the one sort of continuous story. Obviously, Empire goes into Jedi better. Like it flows more, but you have one writer, essentially.
I mean, the same with Mando and Ahsoka. Mando, completely written by Favreau, but with a lot of input from Filoni. Same in Ahsoka. So some collaborations in that sense, of course, works. Mando is basically filmed by completely different directors almost every episode, but it still works. Because there is a person who is at the helm that understands the big picture and where the whole thing is going.
Yeah.
What Star Wars is lacking, at least, like, that's also what I can say. If we are going to get these things that are like repeats of themselves, like feeling of nostalgia for cash grab reasons, whatever, even if all of these things were still happening, if there was one person who gave me this feeling of there is a big picture and we're going towards there, I would have still been okay with it. But at the moment, it feels like it's completely out of control. Just like Mark said, train wreck that you cannot stop watching. That's what I feel. That's why I was looking forward to Favreau and Filoni taking up the helm. And I hope that is how, after Skeleton Crew at least, how things work towards a singular image, a singular big picture.
Yeah. Isn't Favreau and Filoni attached to this project?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because this has also been filmed way earlier.
Yeah, I'm Googling that real quick because I do know that their names are attached. Maybe it's just because they're
executive producers, but
okay.
They didn't have sort of it's like
they weren't the writers or direct producers. They weren't like the...
Yeah.
But that's another thing, is like Filoni is starting to change his style too.
I mean, Skeleton Crew was deemed appropriate for ages 9 to 12.
So, I mean, that's pretty much the audience then.
That I can understand. That also, for me, is like, okay, yeah, I'm not the... But that's what I said from the first episode. I am not the target audience for this show.
Yeah. And I think, with that in mind, we can look at the last few episodes more objectively, in the sense of it was designed for kids. So, we're looking at this as adult Star Wars fans. If we try and, for the next episode, look at it from a different perspective, even if we say, would a kid enjoy this? If we think back to our 9 to 12-year-old selves, would we want to watch this? I think that's where we should go for the next.
I mean, I'm enjoying it as an adult, so I'm definitely going to say my 9-year-old self would probably have fun with it.
Me too. Like, I don't exactly remember, but I must have been in that age bracket when the first Parts of the Caribbean came out. If I watched this as a 11-year-old, I would have loved it. I would have made Fern my entire personality. That's how much I would have loved it.
Not KB?
Probably, actually, KB.
I was going to say, you're the teacher, so she's the analytical person.
That's the thing. I would have loved to be the Fern, but I would have been the KB.
You'd probably be a mix of the two characters.
Yeah. But
yeah. I was more of a whim.
Yeah, I'd say I would be the same. I'd be more of a whim, because I'm remembering.
I got into a lot of trouble.
I'm just thinking about how, we reenacted Lord of the Rings, which was also 2001, 2002, and 2003. If this was back then, we would definitely have been, like, me and my friends would definitely have been trying to be like these characters.
Yeah, I mean, as a kids show, sure. If this is a kid's first step into the Star Wars universe, welcome. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we want it to be like Harry Potter, where it grows up with us. It gets darker as it goes.
Oh God, yeah, that would have been, yeah.
But then we have had that with the prequel trilogy.
Mm.
We grew up
that is
with
true.
the lightheartedness that then, when, okay, there's this war starting that's big, to, oh my God, they're murdering kids.
Mm-hmm.
We've had that. The problem that there is now is everything is so sort of watered down in the Disney sense that you can't really show mass murdering. Like, I mean, realistically speaking, like, if we look at the recent Marvel, Star Wars, Disney projects as a whole, the only one that stands out for being different is Deadpool and Wolverine, because
yeah,
that was graphic.
R-rated, yeah.
Yeah, you look at episode 3, you've got somebody being set on fire with no arms and legs. You would not get that now. We've clearly seen that you wouldn't get that now with the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
Oh, you got stabbed in the chest. Let's immediately heal that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the Disney machine, I guess.
Yeah.
The Disneyfication of Star Wars that is unfortunately hitting us in terms of the watered down content.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, like Mandalorian, when that came out, it was great. It was a new thing. You had this sort of good guy that wasn't a good guy, but was a good guy that wanted to look after this kid, Grogu. And it was that whole mystery. And it was a hit when it first came out. Now, it goes back to that whole, let's try and recreate that formula to make everything else a hit. And it doesn't work. And
Omega and Bad Batch.
See, even Bad Batch, as much as I hate it and love knocking it, and I will admit that is a kids show, a proper kids show. It doesn't, because we know what happens. There's no stakes. The reveals in season 3, which was the season that turned me around on it, were great. But again, it was pointless. I wanted to see the Bad Batch from the Clone Wars being the Bad Batch, not babysitters. It is that sad state where Disney have used the same formula over and over and over again, and people are bored of it.
Yeah, because even with Mandalorian, like Grogu was great, like the first season, maybe even the second season. Then Luke takes him and it's like, okay, cool. Now we're gonna get Mando going back to being the bounty hunter. Because the first scene that you see with Mando stomping in through that cantina, it's like, I'm taking you in, whether you're warm or cold. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, this is cool. And then it was a fun adventure. And then I think he started looking really cool in the Book of Boba when he took those 2 episodes with the Darksaber, no Grogu around. He can finally go back to being the bounty hunter.
But that in itself is the problem, that we had a whole episode of the Book of Boba Fett for the Mandalorian. It was the entire.
That's episode. Fair. Mandalorian is becoming the Star Wars staple.
Yeah, like the Book of Boba Fett had so much potential, and was ruined halfway through because the story of Boba Fett stopped dead, and it became Mandalorian season 2.5. It that could have waited for Mandalorian season 3. It's that problem of everything, again, sort of Disneyverse needs to be connected with everything else. Just because it works for Marvel doesn't mean it works for Star Wars.
It was such a stupid decision that was done with that, though. Like the whole taking Book of Boba Fett but turning into Mandalorian season 2.5. It was such a waste of potential.
Yeah.
And a slap in the face of Tim Morrison.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
he's like, I'm the original Mandalorian here. Let's be real.
Yeah. We had this one character from, again, the 70s and 80s, mostly 80s, I think, on this one, that people wanted to know more about. They wanted his story. So then decades later, we had young Boba. And then we got to see him in the Clone Wars, and it was cool. But we, as fans, we wanted to know what happened after he fell into the Sarlacc pit. It was in books, but we wanted to see it on screen. So when we finally got the answer, it limped to the end, to the finish line, and they had to bring in the bigger named character now to finish it off. They had to bring in Mando and then Grogu. It was pointless. Like, you could have had anything else.
All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for episode 5 of Skeleton Crew. A lot of interesting takes here. But yeah, hopefully the next episode does give us a little bit more purpose. So we're really excited to check out the next episode. So tune in with us next week. But before you guys go, just remember to check the link down in our description where we have our merch with entertainmentearth.com. You can check out all the licensed products from Black Series, lightsabers, any collectible you can think of. Or if you want some cool t-shirts that we designed, check out our Teespring. And if you want to join us on our social media and be able to talk with a lot of cool fans like yourself, check out our Instagram and our Discord. So until next week, guys, may the Force
be with you.
Always.